It's Amanda Jacinto, and last name is Jacinto, and I'm the Public Information Officer with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office.
Great. So, I was wondering if first you could talk about, maybe start out with the positives, some positive impacts of the internet and social media that you think high schoolers benefit from using both of those.
For our office's purposes, when we talk about some of the more positive things that we've seen with social media, it's allowed us to have instant communication. And in some ways, dealing with law enforcement and on the prosecution side, some of the advantages that we can see that most people are familiar with are our Amber Alerts, the Silver Alerts, that quick acting information where there's a missing child or there is a person, an adult who is at risk, and we can instantly communicate that information with everybody in the county, everybody in the state. Instant communication, allowing people to know there's something wrong, here's how you can help. So that's one of those positive ways. Now, in another way, and this might not be the way that all teenagers look at it, but what we're seeing is teenagers documenting more things. They want to be on social media, they want their lives on social media on this constant kind of sense of record. And what we're noticing is that in a lot of ways, when we're prosecuting cases, we're able to use that as evidence. So it's not exactly what the person may be intending, but if there is a fight that breaks out at school, everybody pulls out their cell phone, starts recording the fight. Well, now we have that fight from multiple angles, all on this cell phone camera, and that's evidence that can be used in that case.
So it's a good way to hold people accountable.
In a lot of ways, we're able, whether it be, a lot of people now have surveillance cameras inside their home, outside their homes. That was very popular during the holidays. As you saw packages stolen, you were able to identify the individuals that were doing those types of crimes. It allows us to catch crime a lot more often. It seems that there's always a camera rolling, whether it be a surveillance camera, whether it be somebody taking a picture of a selfie. We're seeing a lot of different live options with a lot of different social media, and it's capturing a lot more than people think.
And what are some of the ways that you're seeing high schoolers maybe get in trouble when they're using this technology?
Now, on the other side of that is there's still a sense that seems to exist, especially in the teenage mind, that they're anonymous. That what they're seeing is in private. Social media has definitely opened those doors wider than I think a lot of people understand as far as where privacy ends. If I share something on a social media outlet where I think I'm only sharing it with one other person, and soon you find out that that person has now shared it with other people, you're not in control of your privacy. Once something's on social media, once something's on the internet, it's very hard to control, and that's something that I think a lot of people struggle to understand, is that the minute it's posted, the minute you press send or tweet or post, it is out of your control, and it can be used in a lot of different ways. So while it can be a negative, as far as we're starting to see cyberbullying because of it, we're starting to see students blackmail each other with it. There's a lot of negative when it comes to gaining evidence, having better details of an ongoing argument or bullying. From an evidence standpoint, it's valuable. But as far as perhaps the problems that we're starting to see socially and within the high schools and the schools, you can definitely see where it's an issue.
Can you talk a little bit about the hoax cases that we discussed just before?
Around the fall of this past year, we saw nationally and even here in Maricopa County what were called different school hoax. People would go onto social media, they were using hashtags having to do with clowns or clown threats or scary clowns, and basically making threats towards schools, towards students, towards staff, teachers, threatening violence towards them. And it led to students being in fear. If you look at our school population now, most of the students have always lived in a world post-Columbine, Virginia Tech. I mean, any of these school shootings that reached a lot of national attention, most students now have grown up under that. So when they hear school shooting, when they hear threats that are aimed at schools, they take it seriously because they know that there could be a reality to it. And we are seeing students call out, parents not feeling safe to let their students go to school. It affects their education, affects the ability to educate students, to give them that safety and feeling that they can safely go to school. And that's something that our prosecutors take very seriously. So when we started seeing it here in Maricopa County, the county attorney immediately made it very publicly known that we would prosecute these cases, that if you could be found doing these types of hoaxes, we would pursue prosecution. And one of our cases that we talked about, the person that was involved was an adult, and they were found guilty of, I'd have to look at the documents again, but I think it's a class 6 felony. So it's something that we take seriously, and that's again, people think it's a joke. I'm just sharing it with my friends. They'll know I don't mean it, but you don't control the message. Once you hit post, once you hit send or tweet, you can't control who's going to share it, what the reaction's going to be to that. On social media, when it comes to violence or threats, nothing is seen as a joke.
What are some of the most important things about internet and social media safety that you think parents should know that they might not really be aware of right now?
I think that parents are starting to get the message as far as keeping an eye on your child's social media activities. Make sure that you know who their friends are, who they're talking to, what they're talking about. I think parents are starting to become more aware and savvy of the different terms that kids are using to try to hide some of those conversations. Parents are putting computers in more visible parts of their home where there is less privacy when their children are online. But I think that parents still can take it a step further. There is so many different filters, monitoring programs, different things that they can use to help keep better track of what their kids are doing online, and blocking them from activities and sites that they don't feel that are appropriate for them to see. The other thing that we encourage parents to do is not just keep track of who is asking to become friends with your child, but also who are they friends with and what's on their pages. It's easy to look at maybe your child's page and see, okay, well, they're doing these activities and I'm okay with it. But if you look at their friends' pages and perhaps your child has pictures on their pages, are you comfortable with those pictures of your child being out there? Because again, you have to keep in mind, once it's posted, once it's out there, it's very hard to control. So you have to sometimes look beyond just that immediate page of your child to see what else is out there. Don't be afraid to Google your child's name, see what's available, because it's those things that future employers are going to be looking at, colleges, scholarships, things like that. You need to know your social media print and what is out there.
Can you tell me about some of the resources that the Attorney General's office offers about online and social media safety?
We do a couple different things. We go out to the schools. We try to educate the students. We have several summer programs that we do, fun activities for the younger kids that we usually go out to the pools and interact with them and teach them some basic safety ideas, and we make it a game. As far as the older kids, we go into high schools. We have a speakers bureau that go out. They educate about social media safety, internet safety, keeping your personal information personal, what to share and what not to share. And then again, kind of just impressing upon students that you don't always control what happens once something's out. Beyond that, we have Safe Kids Arizona, which is a website that we put together that is full of information for parents, and it covers plenty of topics, whether it be cyberbullying, internet safety, social media. Also talks a little bit about filters and different things that you can do to help keep your children, especially younger children, from accessing sites that you wouldn't approve of them going to.
And I don't know if you can necessarily comment on this, but have you guys run into any cases dealing with social media apps or platforms that aren't very well known or that parents might want to know about?
We don't have resources that are detailed into that. There seems to be a different app, a different platform on a regular basis, and it's very hard for us to keep up with. There are different resources out there, but for ours, we keep it on a kind of just a level of knowledge that most parents need to know. If you're coming to our website, there is a chance that you yourself have never dealt with social media, your children are starting to get into it, and we want to be a resource for that parent to get some general understanding and the resources of where they can go from there.
Do you have any advice for parents who might be looking for the next thing that's coming out, or maybe the newest slang where they can learn about that?
You know what, there's plenty of online articles. Do your research, do your homework. They're your children. Make sure you're on their social media. Make sure you're keeping eyes on them when they're on their social media. Set rules and regulations with them early on, before they have their own computer, before they have their own cell phone, before they have any device that has Wi-Fi. Because that's the other thing parents need to understand. It's not limited to phones. It isn't just a physical computer. Any device you give them, whether it be a music player or anything else that has Wi-Fi access, they're able to get onto the internet. They're able to access those things that perhaps you think you're limiting. So you need to understand the devices that your children have access to. You need to understand their capabilities, and you need to have that conversation with them. What are our values as a family? What are we okay with you doing, not doing, seeing, not seeing? What sites are you okay visiting and not? How will you be monitored by your parents? And also, they have to feel safe. If they do go to a site and they see things that they're not comfortable with, they need to be able to talk to you. Same thing if on their social media they're starting to get messages that are inappropriate, if they're starting to get threats that are inappropriate, or any threat at all, they need to feel safe to be able to come and talk to you. The other thing parents should do is learn about your school's policies. Know what their stance on cyberbullying, internet access, what resources they're able to provide, and what you can do if your child is starting to have issues as far as cyberbullying, whether it be threats that they see on social media. Know what you can do with the school to help intervene.